Welcome to CompTIA DataX Must-Know Glossary Terms Part 2. Term: data lake. Definition: stores raw data in its native format instead of conforming to a relational database structure. Term: data manipulation language, DML. Definition: the subset of SQL commands that are used to work with the data inside of a database. Term: data mart. Definition: a subset of a data warehouse that focuses on the needs of a particular department within an organization. Term: data mining. Definition: refers to data acquisition, cleaning, and manipulation tasks. Term: data redundancy. Definition: a function of integrating multiple systems. Term: data stewardship. Definition: the act of developing the policies and procedures for looking after an organization's data quality, security, privacy, and regulatory compliance. Term: data type validation. Definition: ensures that values in a dataset have a consistent data type. Term: data warehouse. Definition: a database that aggregates data from many transactional systems for analytical purposes. Term: derived variable. Definition: a new variable resulting from a calculation on an existing variable. Term: descriptive statistics. Definition: a branch of statistics that summarizes and describes data. Term: dimension. Definition: an attribute used to divide the data into categories or segments. Term: dimensional modeling. Definition: an approach to arranging data to facilitate analysis. Term: document database. Definition: a database in which the value is restricted to a specific structured format. Term: DOMO. Definition: a software as a service, SaaS, analytics platform that allows businesses to ingest their data and apply a variety of analytic and modeling capabilities. Term: empirical rule. Definition: the 3 sigma rule that states that almost every observation falls within 3 standard deviations of the mean in a normal distribution. Term: encryption key. Definition: a series of letters, numbers, and symbols used during the encoding process to make data unreadable. Term: entity relationship diagram, ERD. Definition: a visual artifact of the data modeling process that shows the connection between related entities. Term: execution plan. Definition: shows the details of how a database runs a specific query. Term: exploratory data analysis, EDA. Definition: uses simple statistical techniques to summarize a dataset and draw high-level conclusions. Term: extensible markup language, XML. Definition: a markup language that facilitates structuring data in a text file. Term: General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. Definition: law used to give individuals control over how their personal data is collected, stored, and used. Term: Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. Definition: a comprehensive healthcare law that regulates the security and privacy of health data. Term: heat map. Definition: a visualization that uses color and location to illustrate significance. Term: inferential statistics. Definition: a branch of statistics that uses sample data to draw conclusions about the overall population. Term: infographic. Definition: a visualization that presents information clearly and concisely. Term: insight. A new piece of information created from data that then influences a decision. Term: institutional review board, IRB. Definition: a body that formally reviews and approves any sharing of data. Term: invalid data. Definition: data whose values are outside the valid range for a given attribute. Term: key performance indicator, KPI. Definition: a metric that leadership agrees is crucial to achieving the organization's business objectives. Term: key value database. Definition: a database in which the data is stored as a collection of keys and their corresponding values. Term: local storage. Definition: the storage media on an individual device, such as a hard drive in a laptop.
Term: machine data. Definition: a common source of unstructured data that has various sources, including Internet of Things devices, smartphones, tablets, personal computers, and servers.
Term: machine learning, ML. Definition: uses algorithms to discover knowledge in the datasets that can be applied to make informed decisions about the future. Term: master data management, MDM. Definition: a data governance discipline that uses processes, tools, and technologies to ensure that data assets across an organization have a single source of truth. Term: mean. Definition: a measurement of central tendency that computes the arithmetic average for a given set of numeric values. Term: median. Definition: a measurement of central tendency which identifies the midpoint value for all observations of a variable. Term: mode. Definition: a variable's most frequently occurring observation. Term: nominal variable. Definition: any variable with two or more categories where there is no natural order of the categories, like hair color or eye color. Term: normalization. Definition: a process for structuring a database in a way that minimizes duplication of data. Term: numerosity reduction. Definition: a technique that reduces the overall volume of data. Term: observation. Definition: the act of collecting primary source data from either people or machines. Term: pandas. Definition: a data analysis library in Python that provides a set of tools for structuring and analyzing data. Term: parameter. Definition: a numeric representation of a property for the population. Term: percentage. Definition: a frequency measure that identifies the proportion of a given value for a variable with respect to the total number of rows in a dataset. Term: probability distribution. Definition: a function that illustrates probable values for a variable and the frequency with which they occur. Term: click. Definition: a popular SaaS analytics platform that offers access to cloud-based analytics capabilities. Term: qualitative data. Definition: data elements whose values describe characteristics, traits, and attitudes. Term: quantitative data. Definition: data elements whose values come from counting or measuring. Term: R. Definition: a programming language that is focused on creating analytics applications. Term: RapidMiner. Definition: a graphical machine learning tool that offers access to hundreds of different algorithms that may be placed in a visually designed machine learning workflow. Term: reduction. Definition: the process of shrinking an extensive dataset without negatively impacting its analytical value. Term: relational database. Definition: a piece of software that lets a user make an operational system out of an entity relationship diagram, ERD. Term: resolution. Definition: the most significant factor that governs how much space is required to store an image. Term: sampling. Definition: a technique that selects a subset of individual records from the initial dataset. Term: select. Definition: the SQL command that is used to retrieve information from a database. Term: semi-structured data. Definition: data that has structure and that is not tabular. Term: simple linear regression. Definition: an analysis technique that explores the relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable. Term: Social Security Administration, SSA. Definition: the administrative agency that implements Social Security and disability laws. Term: spreadsheet. Definition: a productivity software package that allows users to create documents that organize any type of data into rows and columns. Term: SPSS Modeler. Definition: a popular tool for building graphical machine learning models that provides an intuitive interface
where analysts can select the tasks that they would like the software to carry out, and then connect them in a flowchart-style interface.
Term, standard deviation. Definition, a statistic that measures dispersion in terms of how far values of a variable are from its mean. Term, stata. Definition, a statistical analysis package that provides users with both a graphical interface and a command line interface, depending on their personal preference. Term, statistic. Definition, a numeric representation of a property of a sample. Term, structured data. Definition, tabular data with values stored in a consistent, defined manner and organized into columns and rows. Term, style guide. Definition, a set of standards that drives consistency in communication. Term, tabular data. Definition, data organized into a table made up of columns and rows. Term, text file. Definition, consists of plain text and is limited in scope to alphanumeric data. Term, unstructured data. Definition, any type of data that does not fit neatly into the tabular model. Term, variance. Definition, a measure of dispersion that takes the values for each observation in a dataset and calculates how far away they are from the mean value. Term, version number. Definition, a numeric value that refers to a specific version of a report. Term, wireframe. A blueprint for an application that defines the basic design and functions of a dashboard. Term, attribute. Definition, an individual characteristic of a table. Term, average query response time. Definition, the average time it takes for the database to return the results of a query. Term, begin transaction. Definition, the command that starts a new transaction. Term, bind variable. Definition, a variable that dynamically substitutes parameter values at runtime. Term, brute force attack. Definition, an attack that simply iterates through passwords until they find one that works. Term, business continuity efforts. Definition, a collection of activities designed to keep a business running in the face of adversity. Term, change management. Definition, a structured approach to transitioning databases, applications, and people from a current state to a desired future state. Term, change approval process. Definition, a formal procedure that describes how a governing body approves or rejects proposed changes to a database system. Term, clustering. Definition, a technique that improves the availability of a database system by combining multiple database servers into a cluster, which appears to the user as a single database system. Term, column-oriented database. Definition, a type of database that uses an index to identify data in groups of related columns. Term, commit. Definition, the command that saves the changes made by the statements in the current transaction and ends the transaction. Term, conceptual data model. Definition, a high-level representation of an organization's data that defines the relationships between entities without including implementation details such as data types or database structures. Term, content-based blind SQL injection. Definition, an attack in which the perpetrator sends input to the web application that tests whether the application is interpreting injected code before attempting to carry out an attack. Term, covered query. Definition, a database query where all the required data for the query is retrieved directly from an index without accessing the actual table data. Term, crypto miners. Definition, a form of malware that takes over the computing capacity of a user's system and uses that capacity to mine cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin, generating revenue for the malware author. Term, CSV file. Definition, a text file that uses a simple format for storing data in a tabular form. Term, data analysis. Definition, a use case category that focuses on using data from the database to develop insights for making data-informed decisions. Term, data at rest. Definition, the data that exists in permanent storage. Term, data capture. Definition: a use case category that focuses on collecting, validating, and cleaning data in pursuit of accuracy and completeness. Term: data cardinality. Definition: the relationship between two entities, showing how many instances of one entity relate to instances in another entity. Term: data custodian. Definition: a role given to someone who implements technical controls that execute data governance policies. Term: data definition language, DDL. Definition: the flavor of SQL that defines the structure and organization within a relational database. Term: data dictionary. Definition: a collection of metadata that describes the structure, definition, and relationships of database objects, including tables, indexes, views, procedures, and functions. Term: data governance. Definition: the set of policies, procedures, and controls that an organization develops to safeguard its information while making it useful for transactional and analytic purposes. Term: data growth rate. Definition: the rate at which data flows into the database over time. Term: data in transit. Definition: the data that is actively moving between one location and another. Term: data integration. Definition: a use case category that focuses on sharing data between the database, the applications it supports, and other systems that consume data from the database. Term: data manipulation language, DML. Definition: the flavor of SQL that allows manipulation of data within a database.